Imagine waking up every day feeling drained before you even start. You know it's not your job, not your responsibilities, not your circumstances. It's the people around you. They drain your energy, challenge your confidence, and twist your emotions into knots. You can't focus, you can't move forward, and even your smallest victories feel muted. Every interaction feels like a battle, and yet you keep showing up hoping things will change. The truth is, no one can change them for you. No amount of reasoning, convincing, or patience will transform toxic people into supportive allies. Their words, their criticism, their constant negativity, they only have as much power over you as you allow. The smartest, strongest, most effective way to protect your peace and reclaim your life is to recognize the influence they hold and take control of it. This isn't about avoiding. It's about redirecting your energy, protecting your focus, and refusing to let others determine your worth or your path. Every second you spend entangled in their drama is a second stolen from your growth, your success, and your happiness. You have a choice. React, get pulled into chaos and let your progress stall, or step back, set boundaries, and invest your energy where it truly belongs, on yourself and your future. Today, you're going to learn how to handle toxic people in a way that protects your mind, strengthens your confidence, and ensures that your life moves forward no matter what chaos surrounds you. This is about practical steps, strategies that work, and mindset shifts that turn interference into fuel for your growth. It's about reclaiming control, maintaining peace, and building a life where negativity cannot penetrate. By the end of this, you'll understand not just how to survive interactions with toxic people, but how to thrive despite them. You'll discover the tools to safeguard your energy, preserve your confidence, and create a life where your progress is unstoppable, your focus unbreakable, and your peace uncompromised. You're about to see how taking decisive action, protecting yourself, and investing in your growth changes everything. This is the way to stop letting toxic people steal your time, your energy, and your life. First outline, recognize their behavior without denial. When you face someone whose behavior drains your energy, lowers your confidence, or constantly leaves you feeling uneasy, the smartest thing you can do is first recognize it for what it is without denying it. Too many people waste years pretending the problem does not exist. They excuse it by saying that's just how they are, or maybe I'm overreacting. The truth is, the longer you avoid facing the reality of toxic behavior, the more it grows and the heavier it weighs on your life. Growth begins the very moment you decide to see things clearly, without sugarcoating, without excuses, and without pretending it doesn't affect you. The most powerful shift comes when you admit to yourself that this person's words, actions, or patterns are not healthy. Maybe it shows up in constant criticism that chips away at your self-worth. Maybe it's manipulation that makes you feel guilty for choices that are right for you. Maybe it's the way they always turn conversations into negativity, leaving you feeling smaller every time you're around them. Whatever the behavior is, you don't win by denying it. You win by calling it what it is and making a decision that you deserve better than being treated in a way that holds you back. This recognition is not about blame, it's not about revenge or trying to punish the other person. It's about taking responsibility for your own life and your own energy. You cannot grow if you are constantly pulled into someone else's storm. You cannot stay focused on your goals if you're always cleaning up the emotional mess they leave behind. You cannot find peace if you're always questioning yourself because of the influence of another person. Recognizing toxic behavior means finally refusing to let someone else's choices rob you of your future. When you open your eyes to the truth, you stop rationalizing. You stop explaining away behavior that drains you, and you stop minimizing the impact it has on your life. That kind of honesty might feel uncomfortable at first because it forces you to face reality. But comfort is not what builds strength. Clarity builds strength. Awareness builds strength. And making the decision to stop living in denial sets you free to do something about it. The longer you avoid acknowledging it, the more power it has over you. Toxic behavior thrives in silence. It thrives when you tell yourself, maybe it's not so bad. The reality is, if someone's behavior makes you question your worth, if it leaves you exhausted, if it forces you to compromise who you are just to maintain peace, then it's more than bad. It's unhealthy, and it needs to be recognized for what it is. Ruggugation is also the start of change, because what you won't acknowledge, you can't fix. You can't build boundaries around behavior you pretend doesn't exist. You can't protect your confidence from words you keep excusing. And you can't move forward if you're stuck explaining away someone else's damage. By finally recognizing what's happening, you place yourself back in the driver's seat. You reclaim the power to make decisions that protect your growth, instead of constantly adjusting yourself to fit into someone else's unhealthy patterns. Once you acknowledge their behavior, you stop expecting them to be someone they're not. You stop waiting for them to suddenly respect you, to suddenly support you, or to suddenly stop hurting you. You stop placing your hope in their change, and instead you place your energy in your own change. This is the foundation of dealing with toxic people wisely, not trying to rewrite them, but deciding how you will respond from a place of strength and clarity. The moment you clearly recognize toxic, you also begin to see how much of your life it has cost you. The opportunities you didn't take because you were afraid of their judgment. The energy you wasted defending yourself against unfair criticism. The time you lost walking on eggshells instead of walking confidently toward your goals. Ruggugation is painful, but it's also liberating, because once you see what it has stolen, you can make the decision to stop giving it more. It takes courage to admit that someone close to you is unhealthy to be around. It takes courage to face the truth that not everyone has your best interests in mind. But courage is what builds freedom, and freedom is what opens the door to growth. Recognizing their behavior without denial is the first step to taking your life back. You cannot control who they are, but you can control what you accept. You can control what you tolerate. You can control how much access they have to your time, your energy, and your focus. When you finally stand in truth, you realize something powerful. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to fix them. And you don't need to carry them. You only need to see them clearly and decide what that truth means for your own path. The smartest way to deal with toxic people doesn't begin with confrontation. It begins with awareness. And once you have that awareness, you no longer live as their victim. You live as someone who knows their value, protects their peace, and refuses to give their power away. That recognition is the start of a brand new chapter. From there, every decision you make becomes stronger, because it's not clouded by denial. From there, you can set boundaries, you can create distance if needed, and you can focus your time on people who lift you up instead of those who tear you down. The smartest way to deal with toxic people begins by simply telling yourself the truth, standing on that truth, and building your life forward from it. Outline R. Stop, try hunters, stop, city. Stop trying to fix them. When dealing with people who drain your energy, one of the most important realizations you can have is that you cannot fix them. You might think that if you just explain yourself better, if you just show patience, if you just care enough, things will change. But the truth is, no amount of effort on your part can force someone to change their behavior or mindset. Trying to fix them is exhausting. It is frustrating, and it keeps you from focusing on your own growth and well-being. The more you pour energy into changing someone else, the more you risk losing control over your own life, your own happiness, and your own peace. It's easy to convince yourself that your responsibility is to help others see what they're doing wrong. You might spend hours talking, advising, or correcting, hoping that your words will make a difference. Yet, despite all of this effort, their behavior remains the same. This doesn't mean you are failing as a person. It means that their choices, their attitudes, and their patterns are theirs alone to own. Accepting this is not giving up. It's choosing to protect your own life and prioritize your energy for things that truly matter. Trying to fix someone often leads to frustration and resentment. You start feeling like nothing you do is enough, like the relationship is unbalanced, and you begin to doubt yourself. Over time, this pattern can erode your self-confidence and your sense of peace. You give away your power by believing that their behavior is your responsibility. In reality, their actions reflect their character, their decisions, and their limitations. The sooner you accept this truth, the sooner you can step back and reclaim your time, your energy, and your emotional stability. There is also a psychological cost to attempting to fix someone else. When you try to change them, you unconsciously tie your own happiness and self-worth to their reactions. If they do not respond the way you want, you feel defeated. If they do not acknowledge your effort, you feel rejected. If they continue their patterns, you feel frustrated and powerless. This creates a cycle where your emotional state depends on someone else's behavior, and that is a life lived outside of your control. Real freedom comes when you detach from the need to fix or change anyone. Instead of focusing on their behavior, your energy should be invested in your own growth. Your time is limited, your energy is precious, and your focus is the single most valuable resource you have. When you stop trying to fix people, you stop giving away your power. You start prioritizing your goals, your mindset, and your well-being. You begin to build habits, relationships, and a life that reflects your values and aspirations, not the drama and chaos of someone else's unresolved issues. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. You can still offer support, still show kindness, still provide guidance if asked. But it means understanding the limits of what you can control. Change is not something you can impose. It must come from within the person. Your role is not to push, pressure, or force transformation. Your role is to live intentionally, to set boundaries, and to focus on actions that lead to your own growth. This shift in mindset is the smartest strategy for dealing with toxic people, because it removes the emotional drain while maintaining your dignity and self-respect. Accepting this truth brings clarity. You no longer feel trapped in endless cycles of frustration. You recognize that each person is responsible for their own choices, and you reclaim the freedom to make decisions that support your life and goals. This clarity allows you to act from a position of strength rather than desperation. You respond calmly, you set boundaries with confidence, and you avoid being drawn into unnecessary conflict. You are no longer trying to rewrite someone else's story. You are writing your own. You may notice that stopping the effort to fix others also changes how they interact with you. Often when you stop pushing, the tension reduces. You are no longer reacting emotionally to their behavior, and they begin to respect your calm, steady presence. Sometimes the realization that you are not trying to control them encourages them to take responsibility for themselves. Other times they continue their patterns, and that is a lesson in detachment. Either way, your focus is no longer on controlling outcomes that are not yours to control. The energy you save by not trying to fix someone else can be redirected into self-improvement, into strengthening relationships with people who lift you up, into achieving goals that matter, and into cultivating inner peace. You are free to invest in experiences, habits, and people who align with your vision of a fulfilled life. Every hour spent trying to change someone who refuses to change is an hour lost, an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to move forward. When you finally embrace this principle, you develop resilience. You learn to maintain your calm in the face of negativity. You learn to focus on what you can control rather than wasting energy on what you cannot. You stop letting someone else's unresolved issues dictate your mood or decisions. You reclaim your sense of self, and you protect your life from unnecessary chaos. This is not avoidance. This is strategic living. This is a choice to honor your own path and to refuse to be derailed by the behavior of others. The smartest way to deal with toxic people is not to fight them, argue with them, or exhaust yourself trying to fix them. The smartest way is to accept their behavior as it is. Recognize the limits of your control and invest your energy where it produces real results. Your personal growth, your goals, and your peace are far too valuable to waste on trying to change someone who is not willing to change themselves. Every moment spent focused on yourself, your habits, your mindset, and your relationships with positive people compounds into a stronger, resilient life. When you stop trying to fix them, you finally step into freedom. You create space for calm, clarity, and progress. You take back the power that was unintentionally given away. You focus on solutions rather than problems. You focus on growth rather than frustration. And you focus on living a life that is guided by intention, not by the chaos of someone else's choices. This is the smartest, most powerful, and most effective way to deal with toxic people. Third outline, set clear boundaries and stick to them. Setting clear boundaries is one of the most powerful tools you have when dealing with toxic people. Boundaries are not about punishing anyone or building walls of resentment. They are about defining what you will accept and what you will not. They are about protecting your energy, your time, and your peace of mind. When you have clear boundaries, you communicate to yourself and to others that your life has value, that your time is precious, and that you will not allow anyone to drain you or pull you into unnecessary chaos. Boundaries are a declaration that your life is guided by intention and respect, not by the whims and disruptions of others. Too often, people struggle because they fail to define their limits. They continue to allow behavior that diminishes their confidence, that steals their energy, or that creates tension in their lives. This happens not because they lack strength, but because they have not clearly decided what is acceptable. When someone crosses a boundary repeatedly and you fail to enforce it, the behavior continues and your life becomes unnecessarily complicated. Clear boundaries are a form of self-respect, and enforcing them consistently is a form of self-discipline that builds confidence and resilience. Setting boundaries begins with self-awareness. You must recognize what triggers discomfort, stress, or frustration. It requires you to understand what you will tolerate and what you will not. This is not about being rigid or cold. It is about knowing your limits and protecting your well-being. Boundaries can be physical, such as limiting time spent with someone, or they can be emotional, such as refusing to engage in criticism or negative conversation. They can also be mental, choosing not to absorb toxic opinions or gossip. Whatever form they take, the principle is the same. Your energy is finite, and you have the right to protect it. Once you know your boundaries, communicating them clearly is crucial. This does not require confrontation or hostility. A simple, calm statement can be powerful. It might be as direct as "I cannot engage in that conversation," or "I will not tolerate that type of behavior." By communicating your boundaries clearly, you establish expectations without creating drama. People learn that their actions have limits and that you are intentional about protecting your life. When you enforce boundaries consistently, you stop being reactive and start living proactively. Consistency is the key to boundaries. One time you allow a line to be crossed and the message is clear, the boundary is negotiable. Toxic people notice inconsistency and they will test limits repeatedly. Strength comes from enforcing your boundaries every time, without exception. It may feel uncomfortable at first because it requires courage and persistence, but the payoff is enormous. Over time, boundaries create respect. They teach others how to treat you. They also teach you how to honor yourself. Every time you uphold a boundary, you reinforce your own sense of worth and control. So, boundaries also create space for growth and focus. When you stop giving energy to unnecessary conflict or negativity, you reclaim that time for yourself. You can invest in personal development, in meaningful relationships, and in goals that matter. You can choose your environment intentionally, surround yourself with people who uplift you, and engage in activities that build confidence and skill. Boundaries protect your priorities and ensure that your life is guided by what you value most. It is important to remember that boundaries are not static. They can evolve as you grow. You might need stricter limits in one area and more flexibility in another. The key is that they remain intentional, not reactionary. Boundaries are about control over your own life, not control over others. You cannot force someone to change, but you can control what you accept, what you tolerate, and how much influence they have over your emotional state. This understanding shifts the power back to you. Sometimes enforcing boundaries requires saying no. Saying no can be uncomfortable because people often fear conflict or disapproval. Yet, saying no is one of the most liberating actions you can take. It is an acknowledgement that your time, energy, and peace are more important than accommodating someone else's toxic behavior. Each no reinforces your control and establishes a pattern that communicates self-respect without hostility. Boundaries also protect your relationships. They create clarity and prevent resentment from building. By setting limits, you avoid moments of frustration that often erupt when lines are crossed. Unknowingly, they provide structure and clarity, allowing interactions to be calm, respectful, and intentional. People are more likely to respect your presence when they understand the rules of engagement. Toxic behavior loses power when met with clear, calm boundaries. The most successful and calm people in life understand the value of boundaries. They know that not everyone is meant to be close, and not every situation deserves their energy. They protect their mental, emotional, and physical space and refuse to be drawn into chaos. Boundaries are not a weakness. They are a form of strength that allows you to live intentionally. They are the practical way to maintain control, clarity, and peace when dealing with difficult personalities. Over time, boundaries change the dynamics of your interactions. Toxic people begin to realize that their actions will no longer control your responses. You respond with calm, clarity, and firmness. Your peace is no longer negotiable, and your focus is no longer a commodity to be taken lightly. The more consistently you enforce boundaries, the more freedom you experience, and the more confident you become in all areas of your life. In the end, clear boundaries are about valuing yourself. They are about saying, my life matters, my energy matters, my goals matter. Every decision to uphold a boundary is a choice to prioritize your growth, protect your peace, and maintain your focus. Boundaries allow you to navigate relationships wisely, to avoid unnecessary conflict, and to cultivate connections that are supportive rather than draining. They are a cornerstone of dealing with toxic people effectively and strategically. When you fully embrace boundaries, your life transforms. You experience less stress, less frustration, and more clarity. You have the energy to focus on your dreams, to build meaningful connections, and to create the life you want. Boundaries are not just a strategy for dealing with others. They are a commitment to yourself, to your future, and to your well-being. They are the smartest, most practical, and most powerful way to maintain control in a world full of challenges. Fourth outline, don't take their words personally. Understanding that you should not take someone's words personally is one of ... the most freeing realizations you can have when dealing with toxic people. Words can sting, and sometimes they are meant to provoke, to manipulate, or to undermine. If you absorb them as truths about yourself, you give someone else control over your emotions, your confidence, and your state of mind. Recognizing that their words are a reflection of their character, not yours, is a critical shift in perspective. When you detach from the emotional impact of what they say, you regain your power and your peace. Toxic people often speak to satisfy their own needs, vent their frustrations, or assert control. Their comments are rarely about reality or about you as a person. They are about their perception, their insecurities, and their limitations. When you take their words personally, you amplify the negativity they are projecting. You allow someone else's unresolved anger, jealousy, or criticism to influence your mood and your choices. You give them a seat at the table of your mind, and that seat does not belong to them. It is essential to realize that taking things personally is a choice. You have control over how words affect you. When someone says something hurtful, it is not an automatic injury to your self-worth. The emotional weight only exists if you choose to carry it. By recognizing this, you create an invisible armor that protects your confidence and keeps your focus on your priorities. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means refusing to let negativity shape your life. You respond with calm, not reaction. You think with clarity, not emotion. Often, toxic individuals will try to provoke a response. They aim for an emotional reaction because it gives them a sense of power and control. If you react, you reinforce their behavior and give them influence over your state of mind. By not taking their words personally, you remove their leverage. You remain steady, composed, and focused on what truly matters. You understand that their opinions are theirs alone and that they are not facts you must internalize. This realization is a form of freedom that few people take advantage of. Detaching emotionally from words also allows you to maintain perspective. When someone criticizes, insults, or undermines, you can step back and evaluate the situation objectively. Are these words constructive? Do they serve a purpose in helping you grow? Or are they designed to manipulate, control, or diminish? If the answer is the latter, the solution is simple. Do not take it personally, and do not let it disrupt your life. Your focus remains on improvement, growth, and purposeful action, not on defending against attacks that have no merit. In practical terms, this might look like maintaining calm when someone speaks harshly, refusing to argue back, and choosing not to dwell on the words. You may need to repeat this mindset daily, reinforcing the habit of emotional detachment. Over time, it becomes natural. You begin to see toxic comments for what they truly are: noise that does not deserve a response, energy that you are not obligated to absorb, and opinions that have no authority over your self-worth. This mental discipline builds resilience and strengthens your emotional intelligence. Understanding that words are reflections of the speaker, not the target, also helps in maintaining healthy relationships. When you do not take negative words personally, you can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. You choose actions that protect your integrity and your peace. You stop escalating situations unnecessarily, and you maintain control over how you engage with others. This is particularly important when the toxic person is someone you cannot completely avoid, such as a family member or a colleague. Your power lies in your response, not in trying to control them. Embracing this principle also shifts your focus toward your own growth. When you stop internalizing criticism that is not constructive, you free mental and emotional energy to invest in your goals, relationships, and you no longer waste time replaying negative conversations or worrying about opinions that hold no value. Every moment you spend letting someone else's words affect you is a moment stolen from building your future. By refusing to take things personally, you reclaim that time and redirect it toward what truly matters. It is also important to recognize that not all words are meant to be taken personally. Feedback, advice, or constructive criticism from people who care about your growth can be valuable. The key is discernment, understanding the source, intention, and context. Toxic words lack this constructive intent. They are often fueled by emotion, insecurity, or control. Once you can identify the difference, you can selectively choose what deserves your attention and what does not. This discernment further strengthens your emotional boundaries. By not taking words personally, you also protect your self-esteem and confidence. You prevent toxic speech from eroding your sense of worth or shaking your belief in yourself. Confidence is maintained when your identity is rooted in your values, actions, and intentions, rather than in someone else's negative commentary. You begin to realize that your life is yours to live, your choices are yours to make, and your peace is yours to protect. The opinions of others are secondary and often irrelevant. Over time, this approach builds emotional immunity. You encounter toxic words and feel only the minimal effect, if any. You no longer react impulsively or emotionally. You handle interactions with poise and clarity. You maintain your focus on priorities and your commitment to your own growth. This is not passive acceptance. This is active mastery over your emotions and your environment. You choose where your energy goes and what influences your life. Ultimately, refusing to take words personally is about reclaiming control. It is about deciding that your mood, your confidence, and your focus will not be dictated by someone else's negativity. It is about maintaining calm in the midst of provocation and focusing on what truly matters. Every time you practice this principle, you strengthen your ability to navigate life with clarity, composure, and purpose. It is one of the most effective strategies for dealing with toxic people while protecting your own mental and emotional well-being. Fifth outline, protect your energy first. Protecting your energy is the foundation of dealing with toxic people effectively. Energy is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, and even spiritual. Every interaction you have, every conversation you engage in, draws from that energy. Toxic people have a way of draining it without you even realizing it. They create tension, frustration, and unnecessary stress. And if you are not careful, they can dominate your thoughts, sap your motivation, and influence your decisions. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is strategic. It is the key to maintaining focus, peace, and personal power in every area of life. Understanding the value of your energy begins with awareness. Notice how you feel after certain interactions. Do you leave conversations feeling depleted, anxious, or irritated? Do you replay negative encounters in your mind long after they occur? These are clear signs that someone is taking more from you than they are giving. Your energy is finite, and once it is depleted, it affects every aspect of your day, your productivity, your relationships, and your capacity for joy. Recognizing when energy is being drained is the first step in protecting it. Once you are aware of the drain, you must take deliberate action to guard your energy. This may involve limiting exposure to toxic people or creating clear boundaries in your interactions. It might mean choosing when and how to respond instead of reacting immediately. Protecting your energy requires discipline and self-respect. It demands that you value your time, your focus, and your mental and emotional stability more than the desire to appease or respond to negativity. Every decision to protect your energy reinforces your personal power. Protecting energy also means being selective about the conversations and environments you enter. Not every argument or negative opinion deserves your attention. You have the right to disengage from unnecessary conflict without guilt. Choosing calm over chaos does not make you weak. It makes you intentional. It makes you aware that your energy is a resource, and wasting it on toxic people or pointless drama diminishes your ability to achieve your goals and live intentionally. Practical steps to protect your energy include planning interactions strategically. For example, you might decide to limit meetings, calls, or encounters with individuals who consistently bring negativity. You can choose to keep interactions brief, neutral, and purposeful. You can also focus on maintaining a calm mindset, refusing to react emotionally to provocations. Each time you choose not to expend energy unnecessarily, you are investing it back into your life, your work, and your growth. It is also crucial to prioritize self-care. Adequate rest, mental reflection, and time for personal interests all contribute to stronger energy reserves. When you are well rested and centered, you are less vulnerable to the influence of toxic behavior. Your mind is sharper, your emotional responses are more controlled, and your capacity to handle challenges increases. Protecting your energy is not just about avoiding drains. It is about strengthening yourself so that negativity has less impact. Another key aspect is choosing who you allow into your inner circle. Surrounding yourself with supportive, positive, and uplifting individuals enhances your energy rather than depletes it. Positive people inspire, motivate, and provide perspective. They energize your spirit, reinforce your confidence, and help you stay focused on your goals. In contrast, toxic people sap your energy with criticism, negativity, and emotional manipulation. Protecting your energy means making conscious decisions about the company you keep. Mental discipline is another important tool. Toxic people thrive when you overthink, dwell on their words, or allow their opinions to dominate your thoughts. Protecting your energy requires mental focus, redirecting your attention to productive tasks, personal growth, or positive interactions. Every time you consciously refuse to give power to toxic negativity, you strengthen your mental resilience and maintain control over your emotional state. Physical space also matters. Avoiding unnecessary proximity to toxic people can prevent energy drains before they even occur. This might mean stepping away from certain environments, rearranging schedules, or choosing when to engage in social situations strategically. Protecting energy is not about avoidance, out of fear. It is about smart allocation of your attention and focus toward what truly benefits your life. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful ways to protect your energy. Toxic people often demand time, attention, and emotional responses. Saying no calmly and confidently sets a clear expectation that your energy is not for the taking. Each no is a declaration of your priorities, your self-respect, and your commitment to maintaining control over your life. It strengthens your ability to remain focused and intentional, even in challenging situations. Protecting your energy also involves reflection. At the end of each day or week, evaluate interactions and identify where energy was lost unnecessarily. Ask yourself what you can do differently in the future to preserve your focus and peace. Continuous reflection and adjustment ensure that you are not repeatedly giving your energy away to people or situations that do not deserve it. Ultimately, protecting your energy is about taking responsibility for your life. It is about recognizing that you cannot control the behavior of others, but you can control how much of your life, attention, and emotional resources you invest. Toxic people will always exist, but they cannot dominate your life unless you allow them to. By protecting your energy first, you create a foundation for calm, clarity, and purposeful action. Every choice to safeguard your energy multiplies your effectiveness. You can focus on personal growth, career development, meaningful relationships, and your goals. You can approach life with calmness, resilience, and clarity, free from unnecessary drama or stress. Protecting your energy ensures that your responses are intentional, your actions are deliberate, and your mind and emotions remain under your control. In the end, energy protection is not a one-time act. It is a daily practice. It requires awareness, discipline, and consistent decision-making. It is a commitment to yourself and your future. By putting yourself first in this way, you cultivate strength, focus, and peace. You take the power away from toxic influences and reclaim it for your own life. Protecting your energy first is the smartest, most practical, and most effective strategy for navigating challenging people and maintaining control over your personal world. Sixth outline: limit your time and access to them. Limiting your time and access to toxic people is a powerful step in protecting your peace and maintaining control over your life. Time is one of the most valuable resources you have, and once it is spent, it cannot be recovered. Every minute you allow a toxic individual to occupy is a minute that could have been invested in your growth, your relationships, your work, or your own happiness. Being intentional about how and when you engage with people is essential. It is not about avoiding responsibility or running from challenges. It is about prioritizing your well-being and making smart choices with your most precious resource. The first step is evaluating your interactions honestly. Notice patterns that leave you drained, frustrated, or upset. Which relationships consistently take more than they give? Which conversations leave you feeling diminished rather than supported? Awareness is key because you cannot make changes without knowing where your energy is being spent. By identifying the toxic influences in your life, you can begin to set limits that safeguard your focus and peace. Once you have identified the relationships that are harmful, it is time to establish boundaries in a practical sense. Limiting time can take many forms. It may mean scheduling shorter interactions, declining invitations that will only bring negativity, or avoiding environments where toxic behavior is common. It might involve keeping communications brief and focused, refusing to engage in prolonged arguments, or choosing not to respond immediately to provocative messages. Every intentional choice to limit exposure strengthens your control over your life. Limiting access goes beyond physical. In today's world, technology, social media, and digital communication create continuous opportunities for toxic influence. Notifications, group chats, and constant messaging can keep negativity flowing even when you are physically distant. To protect your peace, you may need to mute, block, or restrict access to certain digital channels. By controlling how and when you are available, you create space for productive, positive energy rather than constant emotional drain. It is also important to recognize that setting limits may provoke resistance from toxic people. They may try to pressure, guilt, or manipulate you into maintaining the same access you have always given. This is where discipline and clarity of purpose become essential. Limiting time and access is an act of self-respect, not punishment. Your commitment to your own well-being takes priority over someone else's demands or expectations. Firmness and consistency in boundaries communicate that your energy and focus are not negotiable. Another important aspect of limiting time is intentional scheduling. Plan your day and interactions in a way that protects your most productive and emotionally vulnerable hours. Avoid engaging with toxic people when you are tired, stressed, or preoccupied, as these moments leave you more vulnerable to manipulation or emotional drain. Prioritize interactions with people who uplift, challenge, and support your growth during your most productive periods. Your energy is finite, and protecting it ensures it is used where it produces the greatest results. Limiting access also involves being selective with the topics of conversation. Toxic individuals often thrive on conflict, criticism, and drama. By steering discussions away from areas that provoke negativity or manipulation, you maintain control over your mental and emotional space. You do not need to confront every issue, defend every point, or respond to every criticism. Selectivity in engagement allows you to preserve energy while maintaining composure and clarity. It is crucial to recognize that time limitations do not have to be confrontational. You do not need to justify every boundary or explain yourself repeatedly. Clear, calm, and consistent limits communicate your priorities without creating unnecessary conflict. Every time you enforce these limits, you reinforce your own sense of control and teach others how you expect to be treated. Over time, boundaries become natural and accepted as part of your life structure. Limiting time and access is also about creating balance. You may still need to interact with toxic people in professional settings, family situations, or unavoidable social contexts. In these cases, minimizing exposure while maximizing control is the goal. Shorten meetings, keep conversations structured, and avoid getting drawn into emotional exchanges. Your focus remains on your purpose and your well-being rather than being consumed by negativity. Consistency is key. A single lapse in boundary enforcement can undo progress and allow toxic influence back into your life. By being consistent in limiting access and setting clear time boundaries, you train both yourself and others to respect your priorities. Over time, this consistency strengthens your confidence, reinforces your emotional resilience, and reduces the frequency and intensity of toxic interactions. It is also important to recognize the ripple effect of limiting time and access. When you reduce exposure to negativity, you create space for growth, creativity, and positive influence. Your focus can shift toward meaningful work, supportive relationships, and self-improvement. The time reclaimed from toxic interactions becomes a resource that fuels your goals, your health, and your happiness. Protecting your schedule directly impacts the quality of your life and the trajectory of your future. Limiting time is not about resentment or avoidance. It is about strategic self-management. You control how much of your life is available to negative influence. You allocate your time to people and activities that align with your values, support your growth, and enrich your life. Every intentional choice to limit exposure reinforces your autonomy and strengthens your capacity to respond thoughtfully, not react impulsively. Finally, limiting access allows you to maintain perspective. When interactions are controlled and time-limited, you can evaluate situations with clarity. You avoid being overwhelmed by negativity, and you maintain the ability to respond effectively rather than emotionally. The power of this approach is subtle but profound. By controlling who occupies your time and how they engage with you, you create a life that is intentional productive, and emotionally balanced. This practice is transformative. When you limit time and access to toxic people, you regain your focus, protect your energy, and create space for positive growth. Your life becomes governed by your priorities, not the demands of those who seek to drain or manipulate. Every hour, every conversation, every interaction is filtered through intentional choices, creating a life of peace, clarity, and purpose. Limiting time and access is one of the most effective strategies for living free from negativity and moving steadily toward your goals. Seventh outline, respond calmly instead of reacting. Responding calmly instead of reacting is one of the most powerful skills you can develop when dealing with toxic people. Toxic individuals often thrive on immediate emotional reactions. They look for anger, frustration, or defensiveness because it gives them a sense of control. Every time you react impulsively, you give away your power and allow someone else to dictate your emotional state. Responding calmly, on the other hand, allows you to maintain control, protect your energy, and navigate difficult interactions strategically. Calmness is not weakness. It is a demonstration of strength and self-mastery. The first step in responding calmly is awareness. You need to notice the triggers that provoke strong emotional reactions. Toxic people will test your patience repeatedly, and awareness allows you to catch your emotional response before it escalates. Take a deep breath, pause, and give yourself a moment to process what is being said. In that pause, you regain control over your response. It is the difference between reacting emotionally and responding thoughtfully. Understanding that the words and actions of toxic individuals often reflect their issues, not yours, is crucial. Their criticism, anger, or manipulation is more about their internal struggles than about your behavior. By separating their negativity from your identity, you prevent it from influencing your emotions. You maintain clarity and focus on the facts rather than being drawn into drama or conflict. Responding calmly also involves maintaining a steady tone and neutral body language. Avoid raising your voice, gesturing aggressively, or showing visible frustration. Toxic people often look for signs of weakness or agitation, and giving them these cues fuels further negativity. Calm, composed responses demonstrate confidence, control, and self-respect. They also reduce the likelihood of escalation and keep the interaction manageable. Another essential component is choosing your words carefully. Speak with clarity and purpose rather than reacting impulsively. Keep responses concise, factual, and solution-oriented. Avoid engaging in arguments, debates, or long explanations that give the other person more opportunities to manipulate or provoke. By focusing on your own words and maintaining control over your communication, you prevent the toxic individual from dictating the tone of the interaction. Emotional detachment is also critical. Responding calmly does not mean ignoring problems. It means separating your emotions from the situation. You observe, process, and reply without letting anger, frustration, or hurt dominate your response. This detachment creates a buffer that protects your energy, allowing you to maintain composure even in challenging situations. Practicing calm responses takes discipline. It is natural to feel anger, hurt, or frustration, but the key is to channel those emotions in a controlled way. Mental rehearsals can be effective, imagining potential scenarios and practicing calm, or less responses builds confidence and reduces the likelihood of impulsive reactions. Over time, responding calmly becomes instinctive rather than forced. It is also important to focus on solutions rather than dwelling on problems. Toxic interactions often involve complaints, negativity, or criticism. Responding calmly means redirecting the conversation toward constructive outcomes when possible, or disengaging gracefully if no solution exists. Your energy is best spent on resolving issues or protecting your well-being, not on being consumed by someone else's negativity. Recognize that calm responses can influence the behavior of others. When a toxic person expects chaos and instead encounters composure, their attempts to provoke may lose effectiveness. Calmness can diffuse tension, prevent escalation, and sometimes even inspire the other person to moderate their behavior. You do not control their actions, but you control your reactions, and that control is powerful. Maintaining calm also protects your mental and physical health. Constant reactivity leads to stress, fatigue, and emotional exhaustion. Over time, it can affect focus, productivity, and overall well-being. By responding with composure, you conserve energy, think more clearly, and make better decisions. Calmness is not just strategic, it is necessary for sustaining long-term resilience. It is essential to remember that responding calmly does not mean being passive or complacent. You are not avoiding conflict or ignoring problems. You are approaching situations with intention, protecting your energy, and acting in a way that supports your goals. Calmness is active, not passive. It is a deliberate choice to maintain authority over your own life. Another powerful technique is reframing the situation internally. Remind yourself that the behavior of toxic people is a reflection of their character, not yours. By internalizing this perspective, you reduce the emotional weight of their words or actions. You respond from a place of understanding rather than reactivity, which strengthens your emotional resilience. Practicing calm responses also enhances your credibility and influence. People naturally respect those who remain composed under pressure. When you respond calmly, even in difficult interactions, you maintain authority, clarity, and confidence. This can alter the dynamic, making it less likely for toxic behavior to dominate future encounters. Consistency is key. The first few times you respond calmly, it may feel unnatural or challenging. Toxic individuals may test your patience repeatedly. By remaining consistent, you establish a pattern that reinforces your control and sets clear boundaries. Over time, it becomes a habit that transforms the way you navigate all challenging relationships. Ultimately, responding calmly instead of reacting is about self-mastery and intentional living. Every calm response reinforces your authority over your emotions, protects your energy, and strengthens your ability to navigate life with purpose. It shifts power away from toxic influences and places it firmly in your hands. Calmness allows you to respond strategically, preserve your well-being, and focus on what truly matters: your growth, your goals, and your peace. When you choose calm over reaction, you reclaim control over your life. You refuse to be manipulated or drained by the negativity of others. Every interaction becomes a demonstration of discipline, resilience, and intentionality. Responding calmly is not just a tool for dealing with toxic people. It is a lifestyle that transforms the way you experience challenges, relationships, and opportunities. Eighth outline: don't engage in arguments or drama. Not engaging in arguments or drama is one of the most effective ways to protect your energy and maintain control over your life. Toxic people often thrive on conflict, seeking emotional reactions, debates, or disagreements that pull you into unnecessary turmoil. Every time you enter an argument, you give them power over your focus, your peace, and your well-being. By refusing to engage, you reclaim authority over your emotions and your time. This does not mean ignoring problems or avoiding responsibility. It means choosing your battles wisely, conserving your energy, and keeping your life free from unnecessary chaos. The first step is recognizing what constitutes drama. Drama often involves repeated complaints, exaggerations, blame, and attempts to provoke emotional reactions. It may come as criticism, manipulation, or continuous negative storytelling. Understanding these patterns allows you to identify when someone is attempting to drag you into a situation that is not productive. Once you see it clearly, you can consciously decide not to participate. Maintaining neutrality is essential. When a toxic person tries to initiate an argument, your goal is not to prove yourself right, defend your position, or counterattack. Instead, respond calmly, factually, and briefly. Avoid extended explanations, emotional language, or reactive statements. Keep interactions short and controlled, allowing the other person to vent without giving their negativity the space to take root in your mind. Detachment is also key. Emotional involvement fuels drama. The more invested you become in proving a point, defending yourself, or responding to provocations, the more energy you give away. Observing the situation without personal attachment allows you to remain composed and focused. Your objective is to protect your mental and emotional space, not to control or change the toxic person. It is important to set boundaries around topics of conversation. Toxic individuals often thrive on discussing sensitive issues, conflicts, or grievances that provoke argument. By steering discussions away from these topics or politely declining to participate, you minimize opportunities for drama to arise. Boundaries reinforce your control over interactions and signal that your energy is not for manipulation. Silence is a powerful tool. Choosing not to respond to provocative statements or attempts to escalate conflict prevents toxic individuals from gaining leverage over your emotions. Silence does not mean weakness, it means control. By refusing to engage in arguments, you protect your focus, reduce stress, and create an environment where positive interactions can thrive. Avoiding drama also requires awareness of your own triggers. Recognize what provokes anger, frustration, or defensiveness within yourself. Toxic people often exploit these triggers intentionally or unconsciously. By understanding your vulnerabilities, you can prevent them from drawing you into unnecessary conflict. Emotional awareness strengthens your ability to disengage gracefully and maintain composure. Consistency is essential. If you occasionally engage in arguments or drama, toxic individuals will continue to test your boundaries. By consistently refusing to participate, you establish a pattern that communicates your limits clearly. Over time, this reduces the frequency of attempts to provoke and encourages more neutral interactions. Focus on solutions rather than problems. Drama often revolves around complaints, grievances, and endless discussion of difficulties without resolution. By redirecting attention toward actionable steps or simply disengaging, you shift your energy from unproductive conflict to constructive action. Your time is better spent on growth, learning, and meaningful relationships rather than being caught in cycles of negativity. It is also crucial to recognize that walking away is not a failure. Choosing not to argue or engage in drama is an act of strength, not weakness. It demonstrates self-control, emotional intelligence, and a commitment to your priorities. Every time you disengage from conflict, you reinforce your own power and send a clear message that your peace is non-negotiable. Another important aspect is maintaining perspective. Arguments and drama are often temporary and rarely lead to meaningful change. By stepping back and observing the situation objectively, you avoid being swept into short-term emotional storms. This perspective allows you to respond strategically, rather than impulsively, preserving energy and maintaining clarity. Choosing not to engage also protects your reputation. Being drawn into constant arguments or public drama can create unnecessary stress, harm relationships, and project an image of instability. By maintaining composure and refusing to participate in negativity, you demonstrate maturity, professionalism, and reliability. Others recognize that you are someone who prioritizes solutions over conflict. Practicing this habit requires patience and repetition. Toxic people will continually test your willingness to engage. Each time you refrain from arguing, you reinforce your self-discipline and build confidence in your ability to maintain control. Over time, this approach becomes instinctive, allowing you to handle challenging interactions effortlessly. It is important to remember that disengaging from drama does not mean ignoring problems in your life. It means choosing where to invest your energy wisely. Your focus should be on constructive solutions, personal growth, and relationships that uplift and support your goals. Drama is a distraction, and avoiding it allows you to use your energy intentionally. Emotional resilience is strengthened through this practice. Every time you refuse to engage in arguments or drama, you reinforce your mental and emotional boundaries. You develop a habit of responding with composure, protecting your focus, and avoiding unnecessary stress. This resilience carries over into all areas of life, making you more effective in work, relationships, and personal growth. Finally, avoiding arguments and drama is a choice that impacts your long-term success and happiness. The energy you save by disengaging can be invested in learning, building meaningful connections, and pursuing your goals. The time spent in conflict is lost time. The energy drained is energy that could have fueled growth. By consistently refusing to participate in negativity, you create a life defined by peace, focus, and progress. The practice of not engaging in arguments or drama is liberating. It allows you to navigate relationships strategically, maintain clarity, and protect your emotional well-being. Toxic individuals may continue to test, but your consistent refusal to be drawn in strengthens your position. You reclaim control over your life, prioritize your goals, and preserve the energy necessary for success and fulfillment. Ninth outline: keep conversations short and neutral. Keeping conversations short and neutral is one of the most practical, not strategies for managing toxic people while preserving your energy and focus. When you interact with someone who thrives on negativity or manipulation, extended conversations often give them the opportunity to influence your emotions or draw you into unnecessary conflict. By limiting the length and intensity of interactions, you maintain control and prevent their behavior from impacting your day. Short, neutral exchanges allow you to engage without losing your composure or investing in drama that does not serve you. The first step is recognizing the purpose of the interaction. Toxic conversations often revolve around complaints, criticism, or attempts to provoke. You need to identify whether a conversation is productive or simply an opportunity for negativity. If it is the latter, your objective is to respond efficiently, avoid emotional entanglement, and maintain neutrality. Keeping this intention clear in your mind helps you stay focused and prevents emotional reactions from taking over. Neutral communication is about tone, word choice, and body language. Speak in a calm, measured voice without showing frustration or agitation. Avoid words that escalate tension or indicate judgment. Maintain a relaxed posture and refrain from gestures that could be interpreted as defensive or aggressive. Your goal is to provide information or respond briefly without giving the other person emotional fuel. Every detail matters, from the way your eyes meet theirs to the subtle inflection in your voice. It is also important to manage your responses strategically. When faced with provocative statements, answer with facts or concise statements that address the content without adding emotion. Avoid giving personal opinions that might lead to debate and resist the urge to correct, lecture, or explain unnecessarily. Neutral responses demonstrate self-control and shift the dynamic away from emotional manipulation. Timing is another. When a toxic person attempts to engage you, respond when you are mentally prepared, not when you are reacting impulsively. Pausing before replying allows you to maintain composure, consider your words carefully, and ensure your response is brief and neutral. This pause is not hesitation. It is strategic control over the interaction. Active listening plays a role, but it must be balanced with detachment. Acknowledge what is being said without internalizing negativity or reacting emotionally. You can nod, respond with a short affirmation, or repeat factual points, but avoid engaging in the emotional undercurrent of their statements. Listening neutrally allows you to understand their intentions while preserving your mental space. Setting boundaries within conversations is critical. You can control the topics, limit personal information shared, and redirect discussion away from sensitive or provocative subjects. By steering the conversation toward neutral or factual territory, you minimize opportunities for manipulation or drama. Clear boundaries help you maintain authority over your time and energy while discouraging toxic behavior. Consistency in maintaining short, neutral interactions strengthens your control over future encounters. Toxic individuals will often test your limits, seeking to draw you into extended discussions or emotional exchanges. By consistently responding in a brief, neutral manner, you establish a pattern that communicates your boundaries clearly and discourages attempts to manipulate your focus. Silence is a valuable complement to short conversations. When no productive response is required, simply acknowledging the comment without elaboration can prevent escalation. Silence can convey neutrality without confrontation and protects your energy from unnecessary engagement. It also reinforces your authority over your own emotional responses. It is essential to recognize that short, neutral conversations are not a form of avoidance, but a deliberate choice to manage interactions effectively. You are not ignoring issues that matter. You are prioritizing your emotional well-being and allocating energy toward constructive actions. This approach is proactive, not passive. Using short, neutral interactions strategically also reinforces your self-respect and confidence. By refusing to be drawn into lengthy, emotionally charged exchanges, you demonstrate control over your life and interactions. Others will notice this composure, and it can even influence the behavior of toxic individuals, as they recognize that their attempts to provoke are ineffective. Short, neutral communication allows you to focus on what matters most. Instead of being consumed by negativity, you conserve energy for personal growth, relationships that uplift, and goals that advance your life. Every extended argument or emotionally charged conversation you avoid is energy redirected toward productivity, learning, and success. Mental rehearsal can help in practicing short and neutral responses. Visualize potential conversations and rehearse responses that are brief, factual, and calm. This preparation builds confidence, reduces the likelihood of impulsive reactions, and makes it easier to maintain neutrality even when provoked. It is also important to monitor your emotional state during interactions. Even brief conversations can affect your mood if you are not fully present and detached. Check in with yourself, maintain awareness of your feelings, and use techniques such as deep breathing or brief mental pauses to preserve composure. This ongoing self-monitoring reinforces resilience and ensures that toxic interactions do not leave a lasting impact. Finally, keeping conversations short and neutral is a long-term strategy for personal freedom and peace. It allows you to manage relationships with toxic individuals effectively while protecting your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. By controlling the length, tone, and content of your interactions, you maintain authority over your energy, prioritize your growth, and create an environment where positivity and focus can thrive. This approach is not just about surviving encounters with toxic people. It is about thriving despite them. Every controlled interaction strengthens your self-discipline, reinforces your boundaries, and contributes to a life defined by calm, clarity, and intentional action. By practicing short and neutral communication consistently, you ensure that negativity does not dictate your day or your life trajectory. 10th outline, use silence as a powerful response. Using silence as a response is one of the most powerful tools you can have when dealing with toxic people. Silence communicates far more than words often can. It signals control, self-respect, and a refusal to be dragged into unnecessary conflict. When someone tries to provoke you, criticize you, or manipulate you, your silence becomes a shield. It prevents them from gaining emotional leverage and keeps your mind clear, focused, and undisturbed. The first step in using silence effectively is understanding its purpose. Silence is not avoidance. It is a strategic choice. It is a conscious decision to protect your energy, maintain your composure, and refuse to participate in behaviors that do not serve you. When used correctly, silence communicates calm strength and authority, and it can often disarm a toxic individual who relies on reaction to feel powerful. Learning to remain silent requires control over your emotional responses. Toxic individuals often aim to provoke anger, frustration, or defensiveness. The more they succeed, the more energy they siphon from you. Practicing silence means noticing the impulse to react, but choosing not to. Instead of responding immediately, you allow yourself the space to remain composed, confident, and in control. Silence also shifts the dynamic of interaction. Many toxic people thrive on arguments, complaints, or emotional engagement. When you choose silence, you break the cycle. They may continue talking, but your lack of response prevents the conversation from escalating into drama. Over time, this consistency communicates that their attempts to provoke are ineffective, and that your peace is non-negotiable. The power of silence is amplified by presence. When you remain silent, do so with calm awareness. Maintain relaxed body language, steady eye contact, and a neutral tone in your posture. Your physical presence reinforces your emotional stance. Silence paired with confidence sends a stronger message than any words could. It is a demonstration that your energy and focus are not available for manipulation or negativity. Silence also encourages reflection on their part. When you do not react immediately, a toxic person is forced to consider their own words and behavior. This pause can sometimes lead them to reconsider their approach or reduce their attempts to provoke. Your silence becomes a subtle form of teaching, showing that engagement depends on mutual respect and constructive interaction. It is crucial to know when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence should not be a blanket response to every interaction. It works best in moments where words would escalate conflict, invite manipulation, or drain your energy. By selectively using silence, you maintain control over interactions and protect your mental and emotional space. Silence is especially effective when combined with other strategies, such as setting boundaries or limiting time with toxic individuals. When they sense your refusal to engage in unproductive conversations, they are more likely to respect your limits. Over time, this creates an environment where your peace is protected and your energy is used for productive, meaningful pursuits. Another benefit of silence is the opportunity it gives you to respond thoughtfully if a response is necessary. When you avoid impulsive reactions, you can consider your words carefully and respond with clarity, neutrality, and intention. Silence provides the mental space for deliberate action, preventing regrets, misunderstandings, or escalation. Using silence consistently strengthens self-discipline. It reinforces the habit of choosing reactions consciously rather than being controlled by emotions. Over time, this habit enhances your resilience, mental clarity, and ability to navigate complex social interactions without being drawn into negativity. It is also important to recognize that silence can be protective in both personal and professional environments. Toxic colleagues, family members, or acquaintances often rely on reactive behavior to assert influence. By practicing silence, you prevent unnecessary tension, maintain professionalism, and demonstrate emotional intelligence. Your calm presence becomes a stabilizing force. Silence also protects your long-term well-being. Engaging in constant conflict or responding to negativity can have lasting effects on stress levels, focus, and emotional health. Choosing silence preserves energy, reduces stress, and allows you to invest your attention in growth, learning, and relationships that uplift and support your goals. In moments of extreme tension, silence is a statement of strength. It communicates that your values, focus, and peace are more important than winning arguments or defending your position in a futile battle. This approach demonstrates maturity, self-control, and an unwavering commitment to personal growth and emotional stability. Practicing silence can be challenging initially. Toxic individuals may test your limits, attempt to provoke, or express frustration at your lack of response. Patience is essential. Every moment of silence reinforces your boundaries and strengthens your ability to maintain composure in future interactions. Silence is not passive, it is an active choice. Every time you refrain from reacting emotionally, you make a conscious decision to protect your mental and emotional energy. This decision is a reflection of self-respect, confidence, and a commitment to living intentionally. It is one of the most practical strategies for maintaining peace and focus in a world filled with distractions and negativity. Ultimately, silence empowers you to control your environment rather than letting toxic people control it. By refusing to engage in unnecessary conflict, you maintain clarity, focus on your priorities, and safeguard your emotional health. Your life becomes defined by intentional action, calm presence, and meaningful progress instead of reactive chaos. Over time, silence reshapes interaction. Toxic individuals often reduce attempts to provoke or manipulate when they see that their efforts do not elicit emotional responses. Your consistent choice to remain calm, detached, and silent establishes a new standard for interaction. You set the tone and demonstrate that your energy is not available for negativity. By embracing silence as a powerful response, you build emotional resilience, maintain focus on what truly matters, and protect your peace. This habit becomes an essential tool for navigating challenging relationships while investing energy into personal growth, meaningful connections, and the pursuit of your goals. 11th outline, focus on solutions, not their problems. Focusing on solutions instead of the problems created by toxic people is one of the most powerful ways to maintain control over your life and energy. When someone brings negativity, complaints, or constant drama, it's easy to get caught in the whirlwind of their issues and let them dominate your thoughts and emotions. Choosing to focus on solutions shifts your energy from reacting to acting, from frustration to empowerment. It gives you the ability to influence outcomes rather than being trapped in someone else's chaos. The first step in this approach is recognizing that not every problem they present is yours to fix. Toxic people often offload their struggles, complaints, or mistakes onto those around them. They may seek sympathy, validation, or attention, and getting drawn into the discussion only gives them what they want. Instead of getting entangled in the problem, focus on what you can do to respond constructively and maintain your own stability. This creates a sense of clarity and control in your life. Thinking in terms of solutions requires a shift in perspective. Instead of dwelling on the negativity or complaints, direct your attention to actionable steps. For example, if a toxic coworker complains about team responsibilities, rather than reacting emotionally or defending yourself, focus on what can improve the workflow or address the task efficiently. By concentrating on what can be done rather than the problem itself, you conserve energy and reduce the emotional impact of their negativity. Setting mental boundaries is crucial. Remind yourself that the other person's problems, behaviors, or negative emotions are separate from your life. You are responsible for your actions, your mindset, and your responses, not for fixing them. This detachment does not mean you are unkind. It means you are prioritizing your growth and peace while still engaging in a constructive way when necessary. Solution-focused thinking also changes the way you communicate. When a toxic person raises an issue, respond with clarity, purpose, and practicality. Offer helpful input when it serves the situation, but avoid getting drawn into blame, judgment, or emotional arguments. Your communication becomes direct and grounded, and it signals that your priority is resolving issues, not entertaining negativity. It is important to balance empathy with boundaries. You can acknowledge their concern without internalizing it or letting it dominate your emotions. Phrases like "I hear you," or "we can look at what can be not its done" allow you to validate their words without becoming absorbed in their drama. By focusing on solutions, you provide value without compromising your emotional stability. Solution-focused thinking also requires planning and prioritization. When problems arise, identify what aspects require immediate action, what can be addressed later, and what lies outside your control. This mindset keeps you grounded and prevents reactive behavior. It ensures your energy is spent on actions that produce tangible results rather than spinning in frustration over issues beyond your control. Focusing on solutions helps protect your time and energy. Toxic individuals often thrive on prolonged discussions, conflict, or drama that distract you from your goals. By directing attention to practical outcomes, you limit the opportunity for them to dominate your day. You maintain focus on your responsibilities, personal development, and meaningful activities that contribute to progress. This approach also, by consistently looking for solutions rather than absorbing negativity, you develop the habit of problem solving under pressure. You become more capable of handling challenges in all areas of life, not just in toxic interactions. This skill builds confidence, reduces stress, and enhances your ability to navigate complex situations effectively. Focusing on solutions changes your internal dialogue. When a toxic person's words or behavior triggers irritation, remind yourself that you have the choice to act constructively. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve this situation? Or how can I protect my peace while handling this? This internal focus redirects energy from emotional reaction to purposeful action. In professional settings, solution-focused behavior is especially valuable. Toxic coworkers or clients may create obstacles, complaints, or conflicts. Responding with practical solutions instead of reacting emotionally demonstrates professionalism, reliability, and leadership. It signals to others that you are capable, composed, and results-oriented, even in challenging circumstances. In personal life, this approach enhances relationships. By focusing on actionable steps rather than dwelling on problems, you encourage constructive dialogue, reduce tension, and foster a more balanced dynamic. You create space for progress and prevent repetitive cycles of frustration or blame that drain your energy. Another key element is after engaging with a toxic situation, take time to review what worked, what didn't, and how your response influenced the outcome. Reflecting on your actions reinforces solution-focused thinking, strengthens decision-making, and helps you handle similar situations more effectively in the future. Solution-oriented thinking also allows you to maintain emotional independence. You are no longer tied to the ups and downs of the toxic person's mood or behavior. By concentrating on what can be done, you preserve your calm, focus, and stability. This detachment ensures that you are not constantly affected by someone else's negative energy. Over time, consistently focusing on solutions reshapes your environment. Toxic individuals notice that their complaints, provocations, or manipulations do not elicit the reaction they expect. Your calm, solution-oriented approach reduces their influence and encourages more respectful, constructive interaction. You are defining the terms of engagement rather than reacting to chaos. Focusing on solutions also aligns with long-term growth. Every time you respond constructively instead of absorbing negativity, you strengthen habits of resilience, clarity, and intentionality. These habits compound over time, creating a life that is less reactive, more productive, and increasingly centered on meaningful progress rather than emotional turbulence. Ultimately, prioritizing solutions over problems empowers you to live intentionally. It allows you to protect your energy, maintain focus on your goals, and respond to challenges in ways that strengthen your mind and character. By shifting your mindset to constructive action, you gain control over your life and interactions, ensuring that toxic people do not dictate your focus, peace, or success. 12th outline, surround yourself with positive people. Surrounding yourself with positive people is one of the most effective ways to protect your mindset, your energy, and your progress. The people you spend the most time with have a profound influence on your thoughts, habits, and actions. They shape your attitudes, your expectations, and even your perception of what is possible in life. When you are around people who encourage growth, focus on solutions, and maintain an optimistic outlook, you naturally absorb those qualities and integrate them into your own behavior. Positive influences are not just about avoiding negativity. They are about creating an environment where you can thrive. When you are surrounded by individuals who support your ambitions, challenge you to improve, and celebrate your achievements, you gain motivation and clarity. These are the people who push you forward when distractions or toxic behavior threaten to pull you backward. Their presence serves as a consistent reminder that you are capable of more than you might think, and their energy fuels your own progress. Choosing the right circle requires discernment. Not every person who smiles and says nice things is a true positive influence. Some may appear supportive but subtly drain your energy through gossip, judgment, or passive negativity. Being intentional about the company you keep means identifying who consistently contributes to your growth and who detracts from it. It involves observing patterns in their behavior, noticing how you feel after interactions, and making conscious decisions to prioritize relationships that elevate you. Investing time with positive people also reinforces your own standards. When you interact with those who hold themselves to high principles, practice discipline, and take responsibility for their actions, you are more likely to adopt similar habits. Their behavior becomes a model, showing you what is possible when consistency, focus, and intention guide everyday decisions. Positive relationships are like mirrors reflecting the potential you have, but may not yet see in yourself. The impact of a supportive circle is not limited to professional growth. It extends to emotional resilience. Life will inevitably present challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Positive people provide encouragement, perspective, and practical advice during these times. They help you see opportunities rather than obstacles, solutions rather than problems. This type of reinforcement builds confidence and empowers you to face difficulties without losing focus or giving in to discouragement. Positive influence also creates. When you surround yourself with people who value progress and responsibility, you are more likely to follow through on commitments. Their example sets a standard, and their expectations motivate you to maintain consistency in your habits and actions. Accountability in this context is not punitive, it is supportive, guiding you toward growth while celebrating every step forward. At the same time, surrounding yourself with positive people requires balance and reciprocity. Relationships should be mutually supportive. Offering encouragement, sharing insights, and celebrating achievements strengthens the bond and ensures that the influence is sustainable. Positive energy multiplies when it is exchanged freely and consistently, creating a network where growth is both shared and reinforced. Recognizing the contrast between toxic and positive influences sharpens your awareness. While toxic people thrive on conflict, negativity, and manipulation, positive individuals inspire collaboration, creativity, and problem solving. Being intentional about the environment you cultivate ensures that your energy is spent on productive engagement rather than defending against unnecessary drama. This choice has a cumulative effect, shaping your mindset and actions over time. The benefits of positive influence extend to long-term success. Habits, attitudes, and thought patterns are reinforced by consistent exposure. Surrounding yourself with individuals who approach challenges with optimism and a solutions-oriented mindset naturally encourages you to adopt similar approaches. Over months and years, these habits compound, producing results that far exceed what can be achieved in isolation or in the presence of negativity. Positive relationships also foster learning. Engaging with people who challenge your thinking, offer new perspectives, and share knowledge accelerates growth. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to expand your understanding, improve decision-making, and refine strategies for success. This continuous learning environment is essential for staying adaptable, informed, and prepared for the complexities of life and work. Another critical element is among positive people create spaces where you can express concerns, explore ideas, and reflect without fear of judgment or ridicule. This freedom encourages creativity, innovation, and authenticity. It allows you to take risks, try new approaches, and learn from mistakes while knowing that your energy is not being drained by criticism or manipulation. Even in moments of conflict, positive people approach disagreements constructively. They focus on resolution rather than blame and emphasize understanding rather than proving a point. This approach models healthy communication and teaches effective conflict management, reinforcing habits that are valuable in all areas of life. Selecting positive influences may require tough decisions. It sometimes involves distancing yourself from relationships that have become consistently draining, critical, or toxic. While this can be difficult, it is essential for protecting your energy, maintaining focus, and investing in connections that genuinely contribute to growth. Prioritizing quality over quantity in relationships ensures that your environment remains supportive and enriching. Ultimately, surrounding yourself with positive people is about creating an ecosystem where success, growth, and resilience are natural outcomes. Your environment shapes your mindset, And by curating relationships that reflect the qualities you aspire to embody, you make success not just possible, but inevitable. The energy, perspective, and encouragement from those around you amplify your efforts. Thus, protect your focus and reinforce habits that lead to meaningful achievement. When you consistently invest in these relationships, your life becomes a reflection of the values and qualities you prioritize. You are more focused, more confident, and more capable of navigating challenges. The circle you build not only protects you from negativity, but also propels you forward, creating a trajectory of growth, accomplishment, and personal fulfillment. 13th outline. Learn to say no without guilt. Learning to say no without feeling guilty is one of the most powerful tools for protecting your energy, time, and focus. Too often, people allow others to dictate their priorities simply because they feel obligated to comply, even when it comes at the expense of their own growth or peace. Every yes you give when you shouldn't is a distraction from what truly matters. Saying no firmly, respectfully, and confidently is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect and clarity about your boundaries and goals. The first step in mastering this is understanding your own priorities. Knowing what you value, what tasks support your growth, and what aligns with your long-term objectives makes it easier to evaluate requests from others. When a request conflicts with your priorities, saying no is simply choosing to stay true to your path. This mindset eliminates guilt because you are not rejecting the person. They are free to make their own choices, but you are affirming your commitment to what matters most to you. Saying no effectively requires confidence and clarity. It is not necessary to over-explain, justify, or apologize excessively. A simple, direct response communicates your decision clearly while maintaining respect for the other person. Over-explaining often undermines your boundary and invites negotiation or pressure to change your mind. The more confident and calm your response, the more it communicates that your priorities and time are important. Understanding the emotional impact of saying no is also crucial. Toxic or demanding individuals may react with frustration, anger, or attempts to guilt you. This is their response, not a reflection of your character. By remaining calm and firm, you reinforce that your boundaries are non-negotiable. You do not have to absorb their negative reaction or feel responsible for their emotions. Protecting your own energy is not a personal attack. It is a necessary act of self-preservation. Saying no without guilt also allows you to allocate your time and energy more effectively. When you commit to tasks or obligations that are not aligned with your goals, you dilute your focus and reduce your ability to excel in areas that truly matter. Each no frees up space to pursue activities that build skill, confidence, and success. This disciplined allocation of your energy produces consistent progress and ensures that your efforts are intentional rather than scattered. It is important to practice assertiveness. Assertiveness is the ability to express your needs and decisions clearly and respectfully. It is different from aggression or defensiveness. When you assertively say no, you maintain your dignity, preserve your energy, and prevent manipulation. This practice strengthens self-respect and reinforces a mindset that prioritizes growth over appeasement. Another key aspect is anticipating situations where saying no may be necessary. Planning ahead reduces stress and indecision. Recognize patterns in your relationships, work environment, or social circles where demands may arise and prepare how you will respond. Having a consistent approach ensures that you do not waver under pressure and reinforces your boundary as firm and reliable. Saying no also protects your mental and emotional well-being. Every time you avoid an obligation that drains or distracts you unnecessarily, you reduce stress, prevent resentment, and maintain clarity of thought. Mental energy is finite, and reserving it for meaningful pursuits strengthens your focus, creativity, and resilience. By declining what is non-essential, you preserve your capacity for high-impact actions. Learning to say no is a process. It often requires practice and self-reflection. Initially, it may feel uncomfortable or even provoke internal guilt, especially if you are accustomed to pleasing others. The key is to remind yourself that your time, energy, and priorities are valuable. Over time, saying no becomes easier and more natural, and your confidence grows as you witness the positive outcomes of respecting your own limits. This skill is particularly powerful in professional and personal relationships with toxic individuals. Those who seek to manipulate, control, or drain your energy often rely on your compliance. A clear, consistent no neutralizes their attempts and reduces their influence over your life. You maintain control over your time, energy, and decisions, which is essential for protecting progress and well-being. Saying no without guilt also improves the quality of your commitments. By agreeing only to what aligns with your goals and values, you can engage fully and effectively in those areas. Your attention, focus, and energy are not divided, which leads to higher performance, greater satisfaction, and stronger results. This intentional approach ensures that your contributions are meaningful rather than half-hearted. It is also important to pair no with alternative solutions when appropriate. In situations where a request is reasonable but not aligned with your priorities, offering an alternative shows respect and cooperation without compromising your boundaries. This balance reinforces your ability to navigate relationships skillfully while maintaining control over your time and energy. Consistently practicing this skill strengthens your sense of self-worth. Each time you affirm your boundaries, you reinforce the belief that your needs, goals, and peace are important. Over time, this mindset reduces susceptibility to manipulation, pressure, or toxic influence. You begin to approach all interactions from a position of clarity and strength rather than obligation or fear. Ultimately, mastering the ability to say no without guilt transforms your life. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, protect your energy, and maintain emotional stability. Your time is your most valuable resource, and using it intentionally ensures that your habits, actions, and relationships support growth, success, and well-being. By practicing this consistently, you build a life centered on purpose rather than distraction, achievement rather than compromise, and peace rather than chaos. 14th outline, don't expect apologies or change. Expecting apologies or change from toxic people is a path that often leads to frustration and wasted energy. Many individuals invest their time and emotions, hoping someone else will recognize their mistakes, shift their behavior, or validate the hurt they caused. This mindset keeps you tethered to their actions and gives them ongoing influence over your feelings. The truth is, change is rare unless it comes from genuine self-awareness and willingness, and an apology does not guarantee accountability or improvement. Understanding this allows you to release the burden of expectation and reclaim your power. You cannot control other people's behavior, but you control how you respond. When you stop expecting an apology or a change, you stop letting someone else dictate your emotional state. You maintain stability and clarity by acknowledging the reality of the situation. Toxic individuals often operate in patterns. They may repeat hurtful actions, deflect responsibility, or manipulate situations to their advantage. Waiting for them to recognize their faults is not only unreliable, it is counterproductive. Accepting that change is unlikely enables you to focus on your own growth and boundaries rather than being trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. Releasing the expectation of apology also protects your energy. Holding on to resentment while hoping for recognition or correction is draining. It occupies mental space that could otherwise be used for progress, creativity, or personal fulfillment. When you let go of the need for acknowledgement from someone who is unlikely to offer it, you free yourself to invest energy into relationships, projects, and habits that are constructive. Your focus shifts from managing the behavior of others to mastering your own life. This approach does not mean you condone bad behavior or ignore the impact it has on you. On the contrary, it involves recognizing the harm, setting clear boundaries, and acting in your best interest without waiting for validation. You respond with calm, reasoned actions instead of chasing recognition or apologies. This mindset strengthens emotional resilience because you are no longer dependent on the behavior of others for peace or closure. You create your own stability. It is also essential to distinguish between change that is possible and change that is unlikely. Constructive feedback and healthy communication can influence some people, but toxic individuals rarely alter behavior for the sake of others. Accepting this reality prevents repeated cycles of disappointment. Instead of expending energy on convincing them to change, you direct your efforts toward areas where action will yield tangible results. Your habits, goals, and personal letting go of the expectation for apologies reduces emotional manipulation. Toxic people often use guilt, blame, or emotional pressure to control reactions and maintain influence. By detaching from the hope of recognition, you remove their leverage. You respond with composure rather than reaction, neutrality rather than drama. This detachment does not mean disengagement from life or relationships. It means operating from a place of self-respect and intentionality rather than compulsion or obligation. The principle extends to closure as well. Seeking an apology or change can become an ongoing cycle of waiting, questioning, and reliving negative experiences. By accepting that these outcomes are not guaranteed, you create closure for yourself internally. Your peace is not contingent on someone else's acknowledgement. It is rooted in your own clarity, decisions, and boundaries. This internal closure strengthens confidence and reduces vulnerability to repeated harm. When you stop expecting change from toxic people, you also gain freedom in decision-making. You can choose how much interaction is healthy, when to walk away, and what boundaries are non-negotiable. You act based on logic and self-preservation rather than hope or emotion. This perspective empowers you to protect your time, energy, and mental well-being without guilt or hesitation. This mindset also improves the quality of your relationships overall. When you stop waiting for apologies or corrections from those who are unlikely to provide them, you focus on relationships that are reciprocal, supportive, and growth-oriented. You invest in connections where respect, accountability, and positive influence are present, rather than being tied to interactions that perpetuate stress and disappointment. This intentional approach fosters an environment where your energy and effort are maximized for success and fulfillment. Letting go of expectations encourages emotional independence. You no longer measure your peace, satisfaction, or confidence by someone else's behavior. Your emotional state becomes self-determined. This independence is vital in cultivating resilience, focus, and strategic thinking. It enables you to navigate life with a clear mind, unburdened by the unpredictable actions of toxic individuals. Moreover, this perspective teaches patience and discernment. Recognizing that you cannot change others develops a practical approach to human interaction. You learn to invest in people who demonstrate willingness to grow while maintaining healthy distance from those who are consistently harmful. Over time, this discernment sharpens your judgment, helping you build a life surrounded by constructive influence rather than conflict or negativity. The power in not expecting apologies or change lies in control. You regain control over your thoughts, your time, and your emotional responses. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive, focusing on habits, goals, and personal growth. Every decision is guided by purpose, rather than reaction to someone else's behavior. This control is essential for building stability, achieving objectives, and maintaining peace in your daily life. Ultimately, stopping the expectation of apologies or change allows you to rise above toxicity. You refuse to anchor your progress or happiness to outcomes that are out of your control. You create a life centered on your values, intentions, and priorities. The energy saved from relinquishing these expectations is invested back into yourself, into learning, growth, and meaningful achievement. You build resilience, clarity, and self-respect that no external action or recognition can shake. 15th outline, detach emotionally from their opinions. Detaching emotionally from the opinions of toxic people is one of the most liberating skills you can develop. When someone's words or judgments affect your self-worth or mood, it is usually because you have given them authority over your emotions. Toxic individuals often use criticism, manipulation, or judgment to control reactions and maintain influence. Their opinions are not a reflection of your value, potential, or abilities. They are a reflection of their own limitations, frustrations, or insecurities. Recognizing this is the first step toward detachment. Emotional detachment does not mean indifference or coldness. It means observing without internalizing, responding without overreacting, and protecting your mental space. By creating a boundary between your sense of self and their words, you prevent their negativity from dictating your thoughts, decisions, or actions. This creates mental clarity and emotional stability, which are essential for maintaining focus on your goals and well-being. One key aspect of detachment is understanding the difference between constructive feedback and toxic criticism. Constructive feedback is offered to help you grow, delivered respectfully, and often accompanied by actionable advice. Toxic opinions, on the other hand, aim to belittle, control, or provoke. Recognizing this distinction allows you to filter what deserves attention and what should be ignored. When you detach emotionally, you can evaluate input objectively, keeping what is useful and discarding what is harmful. Emotional detachment also strengthens resilience. Toxic people thrive on emotional reactions. They feed on anger, frustration, or hurt. When you refuse to internalize their opinions, you remove the fuel they rely on. This reduces conflict and prevents unnecessary. You remain calm, composed, and in control regardless of how provocative or negative the other person is. Over time, this practice creates a protective shield around your emotional and mental well-being. The process requires self-awareness. Notice when a comment or action triggers an emotional response. Instead of reacting impulsively, pause and observe the situation. Ask yourself whether their opinion is based on fact, personal bias, or an attempt to manipulate. Recognize that their judgment is theirs alone and does not define your character or worth. This pause allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally, preserving your energy and focus. Detachment also involves reducing dependency on external validation. When you rely on the approval or recognition of others, toxic opinions have greater power over your emotions. By building confidence from within, through your actions, achievements, and self-awareness, you create emotional independence. This internal strength makes it easier to remain unaffected by negativity, allowing you to act with clarity, purpose, and integrity. Practicing emotional detachment also improves decision-making. When you are free from the influence of toxic opinions, your choices reflect your values, goals, and long-term objectives rather than reactionary impulses. You think clearly, act strategically, and prioritize actions that align with your growth and well-being. This clarity is crucial for achieving consistent progress and success in any area of life. Detachment fosters personal peace. Carrying the weight of criticism or judgment from toxic people can be exhausting and demoralizing. By refusing to internalize these opinions, you lighten your mental load. You regain control over your emotional state and create a calm, focused mindset where you can think, plan, and act without distraction or turmoil. This peace becomes a foundation for consistent growth and resilience. It is also important to combine detachment with empathy. Understand that toxic individuals are often struggling themselves. They may be unhappy, insecure, or dealing with unresolved issues. Recognizing this helps prevent anger or resentment from taking root. Empathy does not mean tolerating abuse or negativity. It means understanding their perspective without allowing it to dictate your emotions or decisions. Consistently detaching emotionally trains your mind to remain objective and grounded. Each encounter with toxic opinions becomes an exercise in self-mastery. You learn to maintain composure, protect your energy, and respond strategically rather than reactively. Over time, this builds confidence and strengthens your ability to navigate challenging interpersonal situations without losing focus or peace. Ultimately, detaching from toxic opinions allows you to reclaim control over your life. Your worth, goals, and actions are no longer defined by others' judgments or negativity. You create a space where your energy is invested in growth, achievement, and meaningful relationships, rather than in managing the reactions of people who cannot support or understand you. This practice fosters clarity, focus, and emotional resilience, empowering you to live intentionally and maintain peace regardless of external circumstances. 16th outline, protect your self-worth and confidence. Protecting your self-worth and confidence is essential when dealing with toxic people. These individuals often try to chip away at your sense of value through criticism, manipulation, or subtle attacks. They may question your choices, belittle your achievements, or dismiss your opinions. If you allow their words or actions to define how you see yourself, you risk losing focus, motivation, and the clarity needed to pursue your goals. Understanding that your worth is inherent and not dependent on external validation is the foundation for resilience. Self-worth begins with self-recognition. Acknowledge your strengths, your accomplishments, and the effort you consistently put into improving your life. Toxic individuals will often overlook these qualities, but your acknowledgement of them fortifies your confidence against external attacks. Remind yourself of your abilities regularly and measure your growth by your actions and progress, not by someone else's approval. By internalizing your value, you shield yourself from the fluctuations of other people's opinions. Confidence is built through when you take responsibility for your growth, decisions, and results. You reinforce your belief in your capabilities. Each time you set a goal and achieve it, no matter how small, you strengthen your self-assurance. Toxic individuals cannot erase this kind of confidence because it is anchored in your experience, discipline, and personal progress rather than their judgments. Boundaries are crucial for protecting self-worth. Clearly define what behavior you will tolerate and what you will not. Enforce these boundaries consistently. Toxic people often test limits to see how much influence they can exert. When boundaries are clear and firm, they understand that your time, energy, and self-respect are not negotiable. Protecting these boundaries is not confrontational. It is an affirmation of your value and the standards you hold for yourself. It is also important to separate personal identity from others' opinions. Toxic individuals may attempt to define you by your failures, shortcomings, or mistakes. Recognize that these reflections are projections of their perspective and not a measure of your worth. Your value is constant, regardless of whether others see it or not. By internalizing this truth, you prevent external negativity from undermining your confidence. Developing self-worth includes nurturing a positive internal dialogue. The way you talk to yourself sets the tone for your emotional state and resilience. Replace doubt, fear, or self-criticism with affirmations of your capability, integrity, and potential. Toxic individuals cannot penetrate this positive mindset if you actively cultivate it. The more consistently you affirm your value, the stronger your confidence becomes, and the less impact negativity from others will have. Another layer of protection comes from surrounding yourself with supportive people. When your environment reinforces your worth and encourages growth, toxic influences have less room to cause damage. Seek relationships and communities that validate your efforts, challenge you constructively, and inspire you to maintain higher standards. Your self-worth is strengthened when it is mirrored by a network of respect and positivity, creating a buffer against it. Resilience is also developed through perspective. Understand that toxic behavior often comes from insecurity, envy, or unresolved issues within the other person. Their attempts to diminish. You say more about them than about your value. When you view their actions from this perspective, it becomes easier to remain confident and unaffected. You detach emotionally while staying grounded in the truth of your self-worth. Maintaining self-worth requires consistent self-care. Prioritize your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Engaging in habits that support health, skill building, and personal growth reinforces the message to yourself that you are valuable and worthy of respect. Toxic individuals will have less influence over someone who consistently invests in themselves and refuses to compromise their well-being. It is also essential to recognize achievements and progress without relying on external validation. When self-worth and confidence are internalized, they are resilient to criticism and negativity. Each step forward becomes a source of pride and motivation, independent of whether others acknowledge it. This internal validation is unshakable and forms a strong foundation against toxic influence. Protecting self-worth and confidence also involves the conscious choice of engagement. Not every interaction deserves your full attention or energy. You do not need to defend yourself against every criticism or argue with every negative comment. Selective engagement allows you to maintain composure and preserve your confidence, while avoiding unnecessary conflicts that could erode your sense of self. Consistency is key. The practices that build and protect self-worth, affirmations, achievement recognition, boundary enforcement, and supportive environments must be maintained daily. Toxic individuals may attempt repeated challenges, but consistent reinforcement of your value ensures that their influence remains limited. Over time, this consistency strengthens resilience and allows you to navigate challenges with poise and self-assurance. Ultimately, protecting your self-worth and confidence transforms how you interact with toxic people. Their attempts to diminish you lose power when you operate from a foundation of self-awareness, personal achievement, and emotion. You make decisions from strength rather than reaction. Maintain your focus on goals and preserve your peace of mind. By safeguarding your self-worth, you create a life where growth, success, and well-being are guided by your standards, not by the opinions of those who cannot support you. 17th outline, seek guidance from mentors or faith. Seeking guidance from mentors or faith provides a powerful foundation when navigating the challenges posed by toxic people. Life often presents situations that test patience, resilience, and emotional strength. When you face individuals who bring negativity or conflict into your life, having a source of wisdom and support can make all the difference. Mentors, those who have walked the path before you, offer perspective, advice, and strategies that help you respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Their insight comes from experience, and it helps you see beyond the immediate frustration or emotional turmoil caused by toxic behavior. Mentors teach the value of patience and perspective. They guide you to assess situations objectively, to understand the motives behind toxic actions, and to determine the most effective way to protect yourself without creating unnecessary conflict. They remind you that the behavior of others often reflects their own insecurities and struggles, rather than your worth or actions. By learning to observe without absorbing negativity, you build resilience and maintain clarity. Both mentors and faith help cultivate emotional intelligence. They provide examples and frameworks for handling conflict in a way that maintains dignity and composure. Instead of getting drawn into arguments, manipulation, or drama, you learn strategies to respond calmly, set boundaries effectively, and prioritize your energy for meaningful pursuits. This guidance helps you stay focused on what matters most: your growth, goals, and peace of mind. Mentorship offers practical tools for setting boundaries. Toxic individuals often test limits to see how much control they can exert. A mentor can help you understand when to engage, when to limit exposure, and how to enforce boundaries without guilt. They can provide examples of communication techniques, assertiveness, and decision-making processes that preserve your self-respect while reducing conflict. This support is invaluable in maintaining control over your life and interactions. Faith offers emotional and mental reinforcement. It helps you detach from negativity without detaching from your values or purpose. In challenging interactions, faith reminds you that maintaining integrity, patience, and positivity is more important than winning an argument or proving a point. This perspective reduces emotional reactivity and allows you to conserve energy for constructive action. Seeking guidance also encourages self-reflection. A mentor or faith practice can help you identify patterns in your responses, areas where emotional reactions may need adjustment, and strategies to build resilience. Through this reflection, you gain insight into yourself, improve decision-making, and strengthen your ability to navigate toxic relationships while maintaining focus on personal growth. Support from mentors or faith also provides accountability. Toxic people can undermine confidence or distort reality, making it difficult to trust your own judgment. Having a mentor or spiritual guide provides an external perspective to affirm your decisions, validate your feelings, and encourage consistent action aligned with your values. This accountability helps prevent falling into cycles of doubt or overreaction. Mentors and faith both reinforce the principle of long-term thinking. Toxic behavior often triggers immediate emotional reactions that can lead to regretful decisions. Guidance helps you focus on sustainable, growth-oriented responses. You learn to prioritize actions that advance your goals, maintain your peace, and protect your well-being. Instead of being distracted by temporary conflict or negativity, this guidance system also fosters confidence and inner strength. Knowing that you have access to wisdom, experience, and a moral or spiritual compass reduces fear and hesitation. You can approach challenging situations with a sense of preparation and purpose, knowing that your responses are grounded in principles rather than impulsive reactions. Mentors can also model success in dealing with difficult people. Observing how experienced individuals navigate toxic relationships provides practical examples of what works and what does not. You learn strategies for maintaining composure, enforcing boundaries, and prioritizing growth without getting drawn into unnecessary drama. These lessons, repeated and reinforced, become habits that shape your interactions and decisions. Seeking guidance strengthens your network of support. Mentors, spiritual communities, or faith-based groups provide a circle of individuals who share values, reinforce positive behaviors, and offer encouragement. Toxic individuals have less influence when you are anchored in a supportive environment that prioritizes growth, integrity, and emotional well-being. Ultimately, guidance from mentors or faith empowers you to navigate toxic relationships strategically and effectively. It allows you to maintain composure, protect your energy, and make decisions from a place of strength. It ensures that your growth, peace, and success are not contingent on the behavior of others. With consistent reliance on experienced guidance and a strong internal compass, you build resilience that protects your emotional and mental health, helping you focus on a life of purpose, achievement, and fulfillment. 18th outline: invest energy into your growth, not them. Investing energy into your own growth instead of focusing on toxic people is the most effective way to reclaim control over your life. Every moment and every ounce of energy you spend reacting to negativity is energy stolen from your personal progress. Toxic individuals thrive on attention, emotional reactions, and control. When you shift that focus toward building skills, improving your mindset, and achieving your goals, you reclaim power and create momentum in your life. Growth becomes your armor, and negativity loses its grip. Personal growth starts with clarity about your priorities. Identify what truly matters, your goals, values, and the person you want to become. When your energy is aligned with these priorities, distractions caused by toxic people lose significance. Each hour invested in learning, planning, or self-improvement compounds over time. Small actions, reading, practicing new skills, exercising, or reflecting on progress build a foundation that toxic influence cannot shake. Time management is crucial in this process. Toxic individuals often demand attention at inconvenient times, pulling you away from productive work or meaningful activities. By creating clear routines and you ensure that your energy is allocated toward growth rather than being drained by conflict or drama. Every hour spent on self-improvement is an investment in a stronger, more capable version of yourself. Mindset plays a critical role in how effectively you invest your energy. A growth-focused mindset shifts attention from problems caused by others to solutions you can implement for yourself. Instead of being consumed by someone's criticism, manipulation, or negativity, you ask, what can I do today to improve? What skill can I develop? What step can I take toward my goals? This orientation transforms challenges into opportunities for advancement rather than setbacks. Investing energy into growth also strengthens resilience. Personal progress creates confidence and stability, making it harder for toxic individuals to affect your emotions or decisions. When your skills, knowledge, and habits are improving consistently, outside negativity loses its ability to undermine your self-worth. You become grounded, focused, and capable of navigating challenges without losing momentum. Building a plan for personal growth ensures that your energy is not scattered. Set clear, actionable goals in areas that matter most: career, health, relationships, or personal development. Or create these goals into daily actions that are achievable and measurable. Each completed action reinforces your sense of accomplishment and propels you forward. Toxic people cannot derail a life that is structured around purpose-driven action. Continuous learning is another powerful way to invest energy wisely. Reading books, listening to insightful content, or acquiring new skills equips you with tools to succeed. Growth is cumulative, and knowledge acts as a force multiplier. Every hour spent improving yourself increases your capability and strengthens your resilience against negative influences. Accountability magnifies the impact of investing energy into growth. Track your progress, celebrate small victories, and adjust strategies when necessary. This ensures that your energy is directed efficiently and reinforces a sense of ownership over your life. Toxic people often try to distract or confuse you, but an accountable approach keeps you on course and maintains focus on what truly matters. Physical and mental health are also essential components of energy investment. Maintaining your body and mind allows you to perform at your best and prevents exhaustion from being manipulated by negativity. Exercise, nutrition, meditation, or mental conditioning are all ways to enhance energy, focus, and resilience. A strong body and mind make it far easier to navigate toxic interactions without being consumed by them. Relationships are another area where energy should be wisely invested. Surround yourself with people who inspire, challenge, and support your growth. Positive connections provide encouragement, feedback, and motivation. Toxic individuals thrive in environments where they receive attention, but when you focus on relationships that uplift, you minimize exposure to negativity and maximize opportunities for learning and development. Investing in growth also cultivates long-term vision. When your actions are guided by a clear vision of the future, temporary conflicts, criticism, or toxic behavior become insignificant. You understand that these distractions are fleeting compared to the progress you are making. This perspective keeps you motivated and consistent, even in the presence of negativity. Discipline is critical in sustaining growth-focused energy. It is easy to be pulled into drama or emotional reactions. But disciplined routines, habits, and priorities keep your focus on progress. Each disciplined action builds momentum, reinforcing the habit of investing energy where it matters most. Over time, discipline transforms into a natural response, making growth the default use of your time and attention. Reflection amplifies the benefits of energy investment. Regularly review your progress, assess the impact of your actions, and identify areas for improvement. Reflection ensures that your energy is continually optimized and that you remain accountable to your goals. It also provides perspective on interactions with toxic people, allowing you to respond strategically rather than reactively. By focusing on your own growth, you turn potential distractions into opportunities for improvement. Every moment spent learning, practicing, or improving strengthens your capabilities and builds resilience. Toxic individuals lose influence because they no longer occupy the space in your mind, time, or energy that is dedicated to meaningful progress. Ultimately, investing energy into growth is a form of self-respect. It demonstrates that your life, goals, and well-being are more important than reacting to negativity. This mindset shifts power away from toxic people and toward your own development, creating momentum, confidence, and a life aligned with your values. Every action, every hour, and every effort devoted to growth compounds, creating a life where success, peace, and fulfillment are determined by your choices, not by the behavior of others. Every moment you allow toxic people to influence your life is a moment taken away from your growth, your happiness, and your success. The choice is yours, to continue letting them dictate your emotions and decisions, or to take control and protect what matters most. Peace, focus, and progress are not rewards. They are commitments you make to yourself every day. By recognizing their behavior, setting clear boundaries, and investing your energy into your growth, you reclaim your power. You create a life where negativity cannot penetrate, where your confidence remains intact, and where your goals move forward uninterrupted. Walking away from chaos isn't weakness, it's strength. Choosing peace over conflict isn't giving up, it's showing up for the life you deserve. Take responsibility for your energy, protect your mind, and invest every ounce of your effort into building the person you want to become. The smarter you become in handling toxic people, the stronger your life, relationships, and achievements will grow. You are not defined by their actions. You are defined by your choices, your focus, and your determination. Your life is too valuable to let anyone steal your peace. Guard it, nurture it, and let every decision, every boundary, and every action be a step toward a life of clarity, purpose, and unstoppable growth. When you do this consistently, you will see how much stronger, happier, and fulfilled your life becomes, and toxic people will have no power to hold you back. This is your path to freedom, your path to focus, and your path to success. Your peace is non-negotiable, and your growth is unstoppable.